on, y'all? This is Alex Quin, and you're listening to Hustle Inspires Hustle. Today's guest turned her living room workouts into one of the most recognizable and in-demand fitness brands in the country. Sydney Miller is the founder of Housework, a beat-based, Pilates-inspired workout that blew up online during the pandemic and just opened up its first flagship studio in New York City. With her signature high-energy teaching style, cult-like following, and community-first approach, Sydney has built more than just a workout. It's a movement. Whether you're building a brand, navigating a pivot, or figuring out how to take risk on yourself, this episode is full of real talk, strategy, and momentum you'll want to bottle up. What's up, Sydney?
Hi, I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing excellent. I appreciate you jumping on.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to chat.
I'm excited for you, your flagship. Oh my God.
Yes, I'm sitting here right now, and
Yeah?
it's just so wild.
Talk to me about the process. I want you to maybe take 2 minutes to break down who is Sydney, how you got here, and then maybe we
All
could
right.
dive into details.
Yeah, so I got my fitness career started back in 2012 in New York City at SoulCycle. I rose my way through the ranks there, and while I was doing that, I got certified to teach Pilates, which I was interested in. I then ended up launching my own format called Housework with SoulCycle. They were testing out a concept off the bike, also in New York City. And I came up with this idea of housework, and I kind of knew that I had something with it. So I got it trademarked. I came up with a logo, and I also made sure, like legally with SoulCycle, that housework would be mine no matter what happened, which was
Hmm.
good. And then after a year of doing that there, which was called Soul Annex, they pivoted. They started working on other projects. I kept teaching housework as a side hustle. And then when the pandemic happened in 2020, I flew down to Miami and I immediately started teaching on Zoom day one. And that was kind of where things really took off. And now, just to bring it to today, 5 years later, I opened up my flagship first brick and mortar location in New York City, in actually the exact location that I started my career. This studio used to be SoulCycle Union Square, and I basically taught here for almost a decade.
You took over the exact same spot. That's crazy.
I am sitting in the same spot. Yes.
Wow. You could have almost like if somebody would have told you that back in the day, you'd have been like, "You're talking shit."
I would have it's I would have never in a million years, truly.
How was that shift from, being heavily reliant upon online to facing the reality that, now you're at a stage where you could have your brick and mortar and the business model is probably a lot different.
Yeah, well, we're actually combining both. So we have the brick and mortar, but I'm also still live streaming in a way more professional way than I was doing on Zoom. It's actually now built into the Housework app.
Okay.
I had launched the Housework app in 2020 as a way to have on-demand content so that, yes, I'm doing my Zoom class, but for all the people that, can't take that one time a day, I'm offering on-demand content. And now the app, actually, we've upgraded, by a lot, and we're live streaming professionally from the studio to the app, which is super cool. But yeah, I mean, I've been doing pop-ups throughout this last 5 years because once that became, once people kind of started coming out of the pandemic, and like I would do, rooftops and hotels and Tulum retreats in New York and Miami, and I was kind of like bopping back and forth. And I think, like, as I was noticing the trend, especially in the last, I would say, really like year and a half, to people kind of being back in the office and the appetite to really being back in person. And I was having so much fun doing these pop-ups and these events. And it was all kind of like percolating. And I was like, you know what? I really think I want to do this, actually, because I will tell you that I didn't know that I wanted to have a brick and mortar until last year.
Interesting. I mean, sometimes things just change though, and you see the business develop and what you could do with it. As you're
You
developing,
see it, and
go ahead.
yeah. No, you see trends and you also feel it. And like I've always been the reason I've been able to do everything that I've been able to do is because I've always trusted my gut. And I just had this like hunch basically 1 year ago.
That's amazing. Now, I'm sure that came with a lot of challenges. What do you wish more people knew about the business side of launching a fitness brand?
Oof. I mean, I I have a lot to say about that because also the tech side of it too was a brick and mortar change, but it was also a tech change and it was all happening at the same time. I think what you see online and the finished product is so not what the day to day was. I mean, for the last like several months, up until I kind of got my life back like now,
Yeah.
but I was here working, 18 hours a day, basically every day, all day, like bruises all over my body from just like boxes and things that you're not even like aware that you're doing, um, just to make it happen. You will do whatever it takes to make it happen. And not only that, when it's yours, you're the only one that's going to do it.
Yeah.
So it really just, there's a lot that happens, of like nitty gritty, like on your hands and knees work.
Yeah, so don't be afraid to get your hands dirty. Like it's your business, you got to tend to it. Don't be a diva. Right?
And don't be a diva because also like no one else cares as much as you do. So
Yeah.
even if you have a team that's amazing, and I am so grateful for my team, but like it's your business. So you are gonna have to be the one.
Okay. I'm in agreement with that. Now, I know
Mhm.
that a lot of this push was because of the pandemic. A lot of it could also been like you could have also been like, okay, this is a terrible time for me to do this, and maybe you would have gone a different route. What would you say to someone sitting on an idea right now and they're scared that the time isn't right?
You have to just listen to your gut and make moves because if it's something that you're thinking about, it's going to keep haunting you until you do it. And I think that's also kind of where was like, I knew I wanted to do it. And then I started seeing it reflected back to me where like I saw other people opening businesses and I'm like, why? Like, I should just, I can do this. Like, why am I not doing this? And I think that you need to just kind of like get out of your own way a little bit and not focus on the perfect time and just make the move because that is like the hardest part
That
is
is the
just
perfect
basically like
time.
that is the perfect time and that is the hardest decision to make is
Yeah.
just to do it.
What would you say is a decision you made early on with Housework that changed everything for the brand?
Well, I could say a couple things about that. Number one, I would say is the name. It was always Housework, which is not Sydney. I think a lot of brands, um, call themselves maybe like the founder's name, for example. And I was clear at the very, very, even when I had no idea what Housework was going to become, but I did know that if it had legs and if it was really going to be a brand, then it couldn't be Sydney. It has to be Housework. And
Yeah.
so I made that decision very early. And then I think a second thing that really changed everything was um, building community through Zoom. A lot of people were doing live streams. A lot of people were, exploring online and on demand. And what I was doing was two-way camera on Zoom. Again, now I have a much more professional system that's built into my app, but I'm still seeing you and you're still seeing me. And I think that connection and that energy is what makes it super unique and like takes things to the next level because by seeing you, and you now feel more accountable to your time,
Yeah.
you're a part of it, and also like now I know like your I know your family, like I know I know you have a kid, like I know your dog, and like I'm more looped into your life and you're more looped into mine, and it builds a deeper connection with the community, which has been a focal point for Housework since I started it.
Now, I want to build a little bit on that. You talked about the uniqueness of that. And a lot of people are scared to be unique, scared to have their own identity, scared to go niche. But you double down on house, Pilates, beat-based movement. What would you say to someone afraid to that their niche is
Ah,
specific? It's not gonna work out. I'm not gonna succeed because it's too narrowed down.
you know, I'll never forget when I started teaching fitness that I was told to cast a wide net with my music because it's going to attract more people. And even if you love house music, you should play a little hip hop and rock and pop because that's going to cast a wider net. And I a little bit listened to it, but I never really did because I was like, but I'm going to get more excited about house music because that's what I want to listen to. And it worked because then I built this reputation in the fitness world in New York about my playlists and that I was the house music girl. And I think that, I think, so to answer your question, I think that if you do have something special that makes you you, that lights you up, that is going to draw your people to you. You doing the basic generic thing that everybody else is doing is never going to work because there's so much going on of that. And so I would say that, I mean, I think it's been working out for me pretty well. Like if that's, you have to honor what lights your soul on fire and the things that really like speak to you. That's going to help you find your audience
Right. Yeah, you're not just building workouts, you're curating an experience for everybody. So,
for sure.
what's the formula for creating something people actually want to come back to?
I think that what people want to come back to is it's how you make them feel, right? So it starts with well, now we have the brick and mortar. So it starts with walking in the space. There's music playing. It smells good. It's pretty. There's comfy, seating. It's a place that you want to be. And then when you step into the room, the music is inspiring. It's energizing. Our instructors are, you know, they're friendly, they're relatable, they're authentic, they're making conversation. They're not just Susie Fitness. Like they're bringing in their own vibe and their own opinion to the space, and people remember that. People remember how you made them feel, and that's what keeps people coming back. And even back before I had this space, I think that the reason that people got addicted to it was because of how energizing and uplifting these workouts were, and it gave them a sense of confidence that they weren't finding maybe somewhere else.
Yeah, and that's how you build loyalty ultimately, right? And you build like raving fans. What do you think is
Totally.
what's one thing people get wrong about building community that you see maybe in your space a lot?
Mm. So I don't
I
remember
had the
where I
founder,
read.
not the founder, but the owner of Barry's down here in Miami. And
Uh-huh.
they're huge on community. They do so many cool events for their guests and like high-end locations, and
Hmm.
they focus on not just having them have a good time on site, but also like, making sure that there's stuff for them to do within things that they like, things that are healthy, things that
Totally.
make sense. Yeah, I'll get back to my question. What do you think?
So I think I don't remember where I read this quote, but I remember reading it and I was like, that's so key is that a real like community is something that exists without you. And so while I am always like getting coffee with people in my class, getting lunch with people in my class. But I'll introduce them to each other. So if I'm having a conversation over here, like I'm looping over this person, bringing them in. Now they're talking, and what my goal is for them to want to hang out outside of the studio and off the mat because that's what real community is.
Mhm.
It's when the founder like take me out of the equation and it exists without me. So back to like over a decade ago, that was something that I was always doing, was not only of course wanting to spend time with my clients outside the studio and having real conversations off the mat, but I wanted them to do the same thing with each other without me.
How long have you been doing Pilates?
I got
I'm not saying not just
certified.
professionally, but like maybe for yourself.
Oh,
Maybe you started off as
I probably started taking Pilates like in my early SoulCycle days as a way to cross train. So let's call it like 2013, something like
okay.
that. It was definitely not trending in the way that it is right now.
It's a lot more right now because like I have two members of my family that own like big Pilates studios, and it's a lot more popular now than it was back when I was growing up.
Yes, it's definitely like blown up. I will say like Housework's definitely not a Pilates class by any means. It is inspired by
Inspired, yeah.
the
It's
way Pilates is
yeah,
taught, mostly just in the sense of like breathing, control, fluidity, core, like all of the principles of Pilates and some of the movements, but it's definitely like my own breed of workout that
no
includes
twist.
strength training, cardio, dance, everything.
I love that. Do you have where would be another dream location for you to have a brick and mortar?
Uh, Sunset Harbor, Miami.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're big on
I
Miami.
well, I'm from Miami, first of all.
Okay.
I grew up in Miami. I spent my 20s in New York before moving back to Miami during COVID. Kept doing housework, obviously online, kept traveling up to New York. And then with this opportunity or of, opening a brick and mortar, my gut just knew that it was New York as studio number one, even though I really didn't want to move from Miami because I really love Miami. My whole family's there. But I just knew from a business perspective that it made more sense. And then once I found this location, which was like so meant to be, so full circle for me, then that was like, signed, sealed, and delivered. I was like, this is it. But my goal is to, do well enough in New York that I can then open it up in my home territory. That's what I would love.
Yeah, I'm sure that'll feel amazing. But I mean, either way, you're doing incredible there now. It's good to focus on that. Make sure you make the absolute best.
Exactly.
All right.
Exactly. Yeah.
Um, so question in regards to tech, I like what you mentioned about having an app. That's something that not everybody focuses on, right? The app is what
Yeah.
allows for functionality, for community, depending on how you have it set up. How was that process for you? Was it are you are you tech savvy? Was it a huge challenge for you?
I am so not tech savvy at all.
Okay.
Luckily, I work with really smart people that um, do
Yeah.
all of that, for me. But I've gone through like several iterations of the app. What I'm really excited about on our new and latest app is, like I mentioned, the live stream two-way camera, which I don't really see a lot. I think it's super unique to be able to have that connection of them having their camera on also.
Yeah.
And also another feature that we have that's super cool is you can also have two-way camera on when you're doing an on-demand workout. So if like you and I want to take a 30-minute slow burn together, we can both log in, take that class, and see each other while we're doing the class.
That's so crazy.
Pretty crazy.
No, and it's I can only imagine the type of stuff that's gonna be out in the next 5 to 10 years with the band.
Totally,
Even with
totally.
this, like I could see so many things with Whoop bands and Aura rings and integrating with brands like yours and passing data back and forth and having maybe
Definitely.
leaderboards or stuff like that to encourage people. Like that type of stuff makes me excited because it'll maybe get other people that are not too much into working out to do it just because of the tech around it. You know what I
A
mean?
hundred percent.
It's super
Hundred
cool.
percent.
So, let's talk about the importance because look, you have a brick and mortar location, but you also understand the importance of branding and marketing, right? I always get back to the principal cores of what we talk about here, which is business, self-development, marketing.
Hmm.
Let's talk about the importance of understanding that you need to be in your business, but that you also have to be out there shouting it up from the mountaintops so people actually find out. Like
Yeah.
time out of your day right now, out of your studio, which you're probably super busy, to jump on a podcast to push that. And a lot of people are overlooking that part of growing their business.
So I majored in marketing. I went to undergrad business school, and
That sounds good.
um, so I know a thing or two. To be honest with you, I have been promoting housework on social since before I feel like it was really like the thing to do. And I would attribute 95% of my marketing to organic social, to reels, to TikToks, period. Like I have basically grown an entire community through that.
So, what would you say to people that own studios like yours that say it's a waste of time and money, or I tried it with somebody and it didn't work?
I would say number one, you're going to need to put in the time yourself.
Yeah.
Even if you have somebody who is your social media manager, even if you have somebody who is keeping you accountable to a calendar of, ideas of like what you're supposed to be posting and when you're going to have to be the one that is doing it yourself and putting like your own personality on it. So there's really no easy quick fix for it. It is incredibly time consuming. I will say that I spend a lot of my day doing that. I still myself post at least three TikToks every single day.
Mhm.
And I post an Instagram reel, not just on my account, but on Housework almost every single day.
Yeah.
And the reason that you can't overlook that because that's where people are discovering new things. That's where people like you're going to pique their interest
Yeah.
through that. And the more they see it and the it takes time obviously. That conversion is not like a it's a harder conversion for a sale, but it is a very, very big, what's the word I'm looking for? Exposure, like for people to recognize your brand
Visibility.
out
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Visibility, thank you.
Visibility.
Visibility.
I've been talking over the last few episodes. I've mentioned it a few times because I've been reading like two of his books. Alex Hormozy talks a lot about marketing, especially in the fitness space. I definitely recommend that to you and maybe any of the listeners who are in your space and want to learn. He has a book called The $100 Million Offers and $100 Million Leads, and he built a massive business just out of the fitness industry. But he's a marketer at heart, so there's a lot of like
Mm.
golden nuggets in there that you could probably take away from. If
Yeah, I need to check it out for sure.
I'm a book nerd, as if you couldn't tell. But
I love that.
question for you. How do you want to be
Yeah.
remembered?
I want to be remembered by the way I make people feel, and I want to build confidence in women, and I want people to remember like who they are. That we have a big sign in the studio that says "Get lost in the beat and discover who you are."
Mhm.
Because I think for me in my past life, when I was in marketing and PR and fitness was really my outlet, um, I didn't remember who I was until I stepped into this space with loud music and movement and really got into my body and like stepped into my power so much so that I ended up quitting my job to teach fitness. Um,
Yeah, so
yeah,
it was natural, it was organic.
yeah.
It was meant to be nice. Sydney, I'm really happy that you jumped on and took the time to chat with us today.
Thank you
You
for
have a really
having
cool
me.
concept. We were excited when we connected and we knew that this was a possibility. I'm very excited for you. I cannot wait to see the development. When I'm in New York, I'm gonna swing by.
Oh my gosh,
Right?
yes, please.
We love to do activities like that. And then when you're in Miami, you got that full support.
Yes.
In the meantime, everyone, if you love what you heard today, if you want to learn more about Sydney or Housework, please go to hustleinspiresalsa.com/podcast and find our episode, or whatever platform you're listening on right now. On the episode page, you'll find links to her social medias, her website, and everything we talked about here today. So, with that being said, y'all, I'm Alex Quin. We're on today with Sydney Miller, Hustle Inspire Salsa podcast. We'll see you on the next episode.